Welcome, everybody, to Between Generations, A Life in Two Voices. We're glad to be here today to welcome a very special guest. But before we get there, hi, Mama. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Lots of good changes happening lately, so I'm really excited. I'm excited for the new year. It's going to be a powerhouse year, so I'm really excited for that.
Yes, I am as well.
So today, we have a very special guest on, Natalia Pitcher. She is a psychiatric and family nurse practitioner and just a beautiful human being. I met her through the career paths and got to know her on a personal level, and I just love her as a human. She is extremely outgoing and yet so grounded and so lovely with people, and she just goes out of her way to do the best that she can for anybody, around her. And just so I want to welcome Natalia Pitcher to the show and give her a chance to let us know who you are. So welcome.
Oh, thank you for that lovely introduction. That was just wonderful. I'm really glad to be here with you both. So thank you so much for having me on. And like Natalie said, I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and I also I'm also certified in family practice. So I work with the whole lifespan, and I'm really excited to talk about mental health with you both.
This is awesome. And by the
We're
way,
so
listeners,
excited.
she just came from New Zealand. She was just on a
Oh, yes.
fantastic trip. So you
Oh,
might want to sprinkle some of that through the podcast.
Oh yeah, it was incredible. It's an incredible part of the world. It feels like being on another planet, really. It's just like so amazing. But I'm glad to be back too.
Awesome.
How was the weather over there? Was it pretty nice or?
The funniest thing, they say you have all 4 seasons in a day, because it will just be super hot and then it'll start raining and then it'll be freezing. And they said if you don't like the weather, just wait 20 minutes, it'll change. And someone even told me a story that on one side of the house it was raining and on the other side it was sunny. And it's just like so strange, but really cool. It's nice to have that
That
variation.
is fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Very sweet and cool. Yeah.
Keeps you on your toes,
Recently, our veterinarian moved to teach over there. So
oh, wow.
Since you were there, at least we can hear a little bit about what it's like. And so
yeah, it's great for Americans because our dollar goes farther there. So that's nice. But they're definitely, it's expensive for them. Because they were talking about even going to the supermarket, how they had to shop around for apples because produce is so expensive. So they're like, oh, this store has it cheaper and this store does that. So that was, I felt bad for them with the inflation that's going on there. Yeah. But for us, it's great because the exchange rate is really good.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, we are so honored to have you today, Natalia. And
thank you.
We want to hear all about who you are, and we have some questions for you. So you go ahead and divulge whatever you would like to about yourself.
Yeah, I was telling you guys a little bit about myself, but I have an interesting background because I was born in Brazil and my mother's Brazilian, my father's American, but I came here when I was really young and was raised in the Bay Area where I practice today. And it's nice having that cultural background because I can speak Portuguese and I learned Spanish. So that helps with my clientele. A lot of them are Spanish speaking, which Natalie knows. We work together with some of the same clients. So, and it's just nice having a different perspective, I think, coming from, 2 different cultures and being able to apply that to your life. I think that really helps. And I'm always open and interested in other cultures. So I studied international relations in college and didn't know I wanted to go nursing, never in a million years thought about it. And then I actually went into nursing because I was working in aesthetics. So I was an esthetician and I had a skincare business. And it's just very different from most people. And so I thought,
I forgot about that.
People. Yeah. And I'm like, I love science and skincare and like helping people. So I thought, I'm going to become a nurse and I'm going to go work in a med spa. And that was my intention, was to do medical aesthetics. And I did. And I graduated from nursing school, which is really tough, really challenging, especially when you don't have anyone in your family that's in that medical background. So I graduated from nursing school. I started working in aesthetics, and it was soul sucking. I have no better way to put it. Like, I just didn't bring me fulfillment. And for a lot of people, it does. And I'm happy for them. And it's great because it's a really interesting field. But for me, it was like I wanted to help people on like a deeper level and not just surface. And I realized people really struggle with their mental health, especially when they're coming to get procedures and they're addicted to plastic surgery, or they're getting, throwing a fit because they can't have their Botox. And I'm thinking there's something more substantial that we're not addressing with just the, beauty stuff, which is fine, nothing against it, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper. So I became interested in mental health, and during COVID, I was working in doing vaccines and community health. And the two, community health and mental health, are like so connected because, when you're serving the community, there's so much need for mental health services. So that just transitioned naturally into psychiatric profession. So I went back to school for my psychiatric certification, and I've been doing it for 3 years, and it's just completely changed my life. And I'm just really grateful to be in this profession. And then I also do travel nursing on the side. So I get to experience a little bit of everything. It's really fun. You're never bored in this field. I'll tell you, it's never boring.
I was going to say, you're never bored. Okay, so let me start. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Never a dull moment for me. and Natalie can attest, I'm sure.
Yeah, we've had some interesting characters come through the offices, actually, in the time that I was there.
Yeah.
So, we maybe, Nat, you might touch on that, but confidentiality, we can't mention anything else around that. But just the situation and the experience probably will be relevant to one of the questions that I have for you later in the show.
Oh, yeah, definitely not divulging any personal information, but the population that we work with is a population of people that have served time in the justice system, that have been impacted by the justice system. So it's a lot of trauma that we're dealing with, either from being incarcerated or, obviously before incarceration, there's a lot of childhood trauma that happens. So being trained specifically in trauma has been super useful. I did a training on a type of therapy that is specific for PTSD, and it's called EMDR. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's, Natalie has, but it's phenomenal. And it has completely changed the way I look at therapy, the way I look at mental health, and just my own life, actually. Like, just going through the training, my mind was open. So I'd love to talk more about that if you're interested. It's just, I'm like a salesperson for EMDR. So it stands for eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing, which is just a big mouthful. Even the person that created it, was like, I want to rename it because it's just so many words. But basically, it's just helping people rewire their brains after trauma. And it can be applied for all different kinds of, it can be used for anxiety and depression, but we use it specifically for PTSD because so many of our clients have it. And it has been like the best tool in my tool belt. So I really recommend anybody who's dealing with that to check out EMDR because it can be so helpful.
And it, I don't know. I just, the mind, it can be scary. It just, something so small that can create chaos. It's fascinating, really. It's really fascinating.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I learned from my trainings was just that the client is going to be the center of the care. So client-centered care, meaning they lead you to the answers. I am just there to guide and to help out, but I'm not going to dictate somebody's care. And I'm going to offer a suggestion, or I'm going to help them, like with a medication, for example, but to let them be in charge of their own care is just so important. And I think as a field, we're moving more towards that. And that doesn't mean like I just hand over my expertise and let them Google everything. Like, obviously, I am trained and I am an expert in my own way, but that the client is going to be the expert of themselves. And that is like the number one thing that I took away from that. And it's really helped me a lot. And it's helped me get ownership and participation from the clients because they are able to navigate and captain their own ship, which I love. So yeah, that's been life-changing.
It's hard to be unbiased. I think that was Carl Rogers that developed.
Right.
Yeah. And I saw an interview with him in one of my courses, and he said it was extremely hard to be unbiased in the beginning, because you have to really, really listen and think about the client's perspective. But it was he created that client-centered, which I think is phenomenal because, you're listening. Really
That's
fascinating
exactly right.
stuff.
It's Carl Rogers that really pioneered that perspective.
He pioneered it.
Yeah, and he had some problems too. There's some controversies around him, and that's okay.
Yes.
Like, we don't have to take everything he says as gospel, but he pioneered that concept, and it's been so helpful. And of course, if a client is telling me they're not hallucinating, but I see them talking to themselves or looking at a shadow of the corner, things like that, I'm going to take into consideration my own objective perspective. But to have that, to give that power back to the clients to help direct their care is just so important, especially when it comes to, things like medications, because, a client might have a lot of hesitation around a certain medication, and I can really have that discussion of okay, where is this concern coming from? Is it because of the side effects? Like, let's talk about that. Let me present to you some options about maybe some side effects that would be more tolerable for you, and everything has risks and benefits. And I feel that because our healthcare system is just so taxed and providers don't have time, they just aren't able to go over everything and really give that informed consent. So I have a book in my office that I show them, and we go over the side effects in big letters so they can see it. And we just spend that time. I think that's so important to really go over all that. So, many of us have taken a pill and not known, even ibuprofen, you don't know that it can cause gastrointestinal bleeding. And it would be nice if someone told you that, or Tylenol gives you liver damage. Who knew? We could be drinking alcohol and Tylenol and not realizing it. So it's important to go over these things.
Oh, very. And I think that doctors, they're trained to keep you alive, right? Essentially. So there's a pill for this, there's a pill for that. Are there really pills for everything? Or can we look at it from maybe a spiritual side, or, however the person connects because I just think over medicated, it can be, I don't know. You're the expert. What do you think? How do you feel about that?
I completely agree. Actually, one of the first questions I asked my mentor and my boss, who Natalie's met, Dr. Clark, who is an incredible psychiatrist. She has over 40 years of experience. One of the first questions I asked is this a holistic practice? And she said yes, and she absolutely meant it, because she asked every client, she asked a complete, thorough assessment, and in that she asks, what is your spiritual practice? Do you go to church, whatever church is for you? And that was, I never heard a doctor ask before, but it's proven that people that have a spiritual practice, that have a religion, whatever it may be, that go to church, that they have better results and a better mental health. And it's why is that? It's the community, it's that spirituality, it's all that extra support that we need as human beings, because it's so hard to heal alone. And then as far as medications, medications have amazing benefits, but we have to really know what we're taking and the interactions, and we can't just rely on medications for everything. People want a pill for their existential crisis. Is there a pill for everything? Like you said, do we really need that? Or do we need to look at the spiritual side of things? Do we need to look at our community, our friends, our support? So things like that, I absolutely agree with that 100%. And it's sad that our profession has really, it's so focused on medications. which is really unfortunate. Although, some conditions like schizophrenia, you really do need medications, and maybe the patients will probably be on it for the rest of their lives, but that can't be the whole picture. And it's sad that seems to be such the focus. And even with billing, I mean, I could rant about this all day, but when you bill for a medication visit, your clinic, your practice gets more money than if you bill for a therapy visit. And to say that has no relevance is not true. Like we use billing every single day. So things like that, it's very difficult to bill if you don't use medications. And that's a huge problem, unfortunately.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine. Natalia, what inspired you to become a psychiatric nurse practitioner?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of different things, but I saw such a need, as I'm sure you both have seen. There's really our field is desperate for people to work, and we need professionals who care, and people are so burnt out. And so seeing that need and seeing how rewarding it is, I was really drawn to that, especially after my experiences in the aesthetics field, which is a different focus. And I thought, okay, I really want to help people.
We're going to have to, yeah.
I can talk about all of that ad nauseum, but it's some wild things happening in plastic surgery. People addicted to plastic surgery, and it really opened my eyes, because it is a kind of spiritual decay in our society where people feel this need to fit this strange mold that the society has set for them, and then it ultimately leads to unhappiness because life is more than just that. But for people that love, looking good and feeling good, I'm more props to them. That's great, but I think that sometimes things go a little far.
There's something missing. I think there's something in the core missing. And so you kind of search for it, and then you find like a hamster on a wheel that you just keep searching and searching and searching. I mean, it's one of the ideas that I thought about, especially with, when it comes to maybe vanity. It's like a certain, you have to look a certain way and you have to feel a certain way. But why? Why? What is that? What's driving that?
Yeah. And I feel, there's a lot of pressure, especially for us women, to look a certain way. And ultimately, like you said, it's good to question things and say, who am I really doing this for? And what is this really going to bring me? But if it brings you joy, I'm all for it. Of course, I support people in their own decision. That's the Rogerian thing to do, right?
Right?
Patient-centered care. So,
So, Natalia, many people aren't familiar with what psychiatric nurse practitioners do. Can you explain how your role differs from that of a psychiatrist or therapist?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of people do wonder about that. And so psychiatric nurse practitioners are nurses who are trained at a master's or doctorate level, and they have to pass an exam and get clinical hours to be certified to assess, diagnose, and treat mental illnesses, which many times involves prescribing medication. So the role is extremely similar to a psychiatrist. They do have a lot more training that's required of them. They go through medical school, they have residency. So I have a lot of respect for psychiatrists. They definitely there's more training required of them. But we perform very similar functions because we both diagnose, treat, and prescribe medications as well as integrate therapy. Coming from a nursing background, we have more of a holistic approach because we focus on the whole person, and medicine is very specific about treating systems and viewing from the medical model, which is more biological model of the human body. So there's benefits to each, and I have tremendous respect for psychiatrists. And then you have therapists there's different types of therapists, but they're more focused on the therapy aspect of it, which is a part of my role, but it's definitely, I don't have as much training as, say, a family and marriage therapist or a social worker that's been trained specifically in therapy. So for those who are seeking talk therapy or ABCBT, some things like that, they might benefit more from going to a person who is specifically trained and licensed in that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, we all have our own
it's really
roles
interesting.
that we play, and it's so needed. All of these professions are desperately needed right now. So yeah, for people
There's so
looking
many
into
facets of it.
Yeah, it's a wonderful field. It's very rewarding. It's just can be draining, and it can tax your own mental health. So it's really important to remember that and really practice self-care. Practice what we preach, really.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Good stuff. Is mental health a stigma or still a big barrier for many people?
Oh, yeah.
How do you help patients and communities overcome that stigma? That's huge. Can you imagine, like, back in the 50s, like, they didn't talk about that, you didn't do anything.
Right. The stigma with mental health it still exists, and it's been a problem for many years, even in the past. I mean, especially in the past. So encountering that is a daily occurrence, basically. So I try my best to just focus on the symptoms, on what the person's going through, and help them navigate that. And it's just like any other problem. I mean, we have stigmas about all kinds of things, like maybe, you're having some issues with your, bowels or something. I mean, it's embarrassing. You go to the doctor and you don't necessarily want to talk about it, but it's important to approach it with a very therapeutic and non-judgmental way. And for clients that are struggling with that, I mean, it's something that we encounter every single day. It's really not a big deal for us providers, and we're professionals. We can handle it. So I encourage people just to be open and honest, and people want to try to cover up certain, especially around drug use. Like, oh, I haven't done meth, and they come in and they're clearly under the influence. And I just try
clearly,
to, yes, yeah. And I just try to be just open and non-judgmental, and really like allow them that space. And eventually people do kind of open up and come clean. Another one is psychosis, that like we were talking about, the patients don't want to admit maybe that they're seeing things or hearing things, but then I see them muttering to themselves and say, okay, I've noticed you've been saying things under your breath. Like, were you talking to someone in your, in your mind or what? And then they usually will open up about it, but it's not going to go away overnight. We just have to do our best as professionals to be therapeutic and non-judgmental and really treat people like people, and not, perpetuate those stigmas that society has. And everyone struggles with mental health. I don't care who you are. At some point you've struggled, right? Yeah. So it's normal.
Yes. It's good too, though, that I'm very comfortable with your personality and your being. So I can imagine, over time, when you're working with somebody, that they would admit to you that, there is a problem, even though you had noticed it. You're giving them the opportunity to build a rapport with you and have trust with you, that they do say, yeah, I really am a meth addict, or I have secret eating habits, just it's great to be able to have a human being that you can trust to be honest with.
It's hard. And I think one of the things, and Natalie can attest to this in our field, if you want to work in mental health, you want to work with people who are, justice impacted, who have struggled with homelessness and trauma, they do not want someone who is fake, they want realness. You have to be real and you have to be authentic and connect with them in that way, because any kind of, they have a BS meter that's off the charts. They can detect any kind of fake coming a mile away. So you really just have to be real with them, and they appreciate that honesty. And there's ways to be honest that is not going to be offensive and hurtful to people. So just respect is also really important, mutual respect. And that's with anything really. But it's a really exciting and interesting job. And for people that like to be challenged constantly and never stop learning, it's a great field.
Yeah.
It seems
I can imagine the challenges.
Yeah, you understand. You seem like you're also driven to
the challenges are like, well, you end up, as you become more educated, you start understanding your own self, right?
Mm,
Like, oh, that's why I acted that way 40 years ago. Ah, but
yeah,
so you
definitely.
it's enlightening, to understand yourself. It's just, sometimes there's collateral damage. You had all these kids, or you had family that loved you back then, and it's like, wow, it took her 30 years to figure out what's going on. But that's, it happens. It just happens. And so
I heard a great
that's a
quote. It's
conversation.
we have trauma and then we traumatize ourselves the way we deal with trauma. It's so
Yes.
true.
Yeah.
Like, why do we
Yeah.
do that? Traumatize. And I'm
Yeah.
so passionate about trauma-based therapy, like the EMDR,
Yes.
because when I did my training and I had that light bulb moment, after that, I kept having light bulbs. Even I'd just be doing dishes. I'm like, oh, that's why I am the way those little light bulbs going off because it's proven scientifically that you're actually forming new neuronal
Mhm.
connections. And
Yes.
it's incredible. So to be able to have that is
Yeah.
just such a gift. And unfortunately, this type of therapy, EMDR, is typically very expensive and very inaccessible.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
me and a bunch of my colleagues, we're all working on trying to make it more accessible and affordable to people. But it's definitely with our
Yeah.
system the way it is right now, it's a challenge.
Yeah. Which leads me into my question of the challenges, though. But you've worked in diverse settings as a traveling nurse. So does that mean that you're traveling out of state or
Mhm.
just out of the county?
I go out of country, actually. I go international, helping escort people back to their home countries they get sick on industrial ships. And so I help them get home safely. And that's completely different. I mean,
That's
actually, not
fascinating.
completely. I have had psych patients before, but yeah, it's really cool. I'm really lucky to have the opportunity. But it's essentially occupational health. So people that are
Yeah.
working and they get injured or they get sick and they need to be repatriated, which is just a fancy term for getting them
Yeah.
home safely
Mhm.
because they're not safe to be on the ship and they may need to go home for a medical emergency. So I've done that for a couple years now, and not all the time, but I do get sent to other countries. I went to the Philippines twice this year, which was pretty fun.
That is so
Yeah,
fascinating.
and
That is fascinating.
they were so confused when I got there because they're like, "Wait, you're going to Manila, but you're getting off the plane?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here with my patient. I need to get him home." And they're just looking at me like, "Why are you here?" Not the typical tourist, I guess, over there. But it's a beautiful country. I really recommend visiting.
Well, can you imagine? So it makes me think of like Vietnam vets when they came back from Vietnam. They had nothing
Mm.
coming back, and a lot of them needed mental health.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
actually.
they all had mental health issues and needed therapy. I mean, our country treated them horribly.
Mhm.
So, but the transition of leaving and coming over reminds me of what you do accompanying back somebody, from whatever the issue is, coming back to America. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
really fascinating.
I'm glad you brought that up because our field is so indebted to veterans of the Vietnam War because so much of our research on PTSD has come from them. So they've contributed so much to not only our country, obviously, but our field. So really grateful to those veterans because we're now learning so much
Yeah.
about PTSD and how it doesn't just affect veterans, but it affects people who have
Yeah.
survived rape, who have been incarcerated, who have childhood trauma. So it's their contributions are so valuable to our field.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had a second part of this question, but
Go ahead.
I'm not going there. I want to actually just cut it down to, have you been to areas in rural areas where it's underserved?
Oh,
Have you
right. Yes.
been in those areas, and what does that look like for you? Like,
Mhm. Yeah, I have not done a lot of rural health work per se. But I
Yeah.
have so sad. My email inbox is spammed constantly of requests for me to relocate. Because I'm in an urban area, but I get a lot of requests, especially Oregon. I guess Oregon is a real
Yes.
deficit of nurse practitioners, psychiatric
Yes.
providers. It's really, really tough. But I, work in an urban setting and there's still plenty of need for it. And I think what people are doing to address this right now is a lot of remote work, and virtual,
Yeah.
telehealth, they call it. I personally am not a big fan of telehealth because I like to be in person. I feel like that
Yes.
experience is so different, and patients
Yes. The
really prefer that.
one-on-one.
Yeah, patients are not loving this trend ever since COVID that a lot of psychiatric providers have gone remote. In fact, I would say the majority of them are remote now, and some of it is
Yeah.
safety. They're concerned about their safety. They don't want to get, because it is, injuries do happen, and it's really sad that unfortunately providers have to be concerned about safety, but it is a real issue. But at the same time, for me, the quality of care is not going to be the same as in person. There's so much more that you can tell about a patient than you would from a remote video consult. They even have these robots now. I don't know if you guys have seen them, but they
No.
Yeah.
go into the
I've heard.
patient's room, and it's really
Stupid.
strange. I know. I
That
mean,
is
Yeah.
strange.
the question is it better than nothing? Okay, yeah, it's better than nothing, but that's hopefully not the standard that we hold for our
Oh my
patients.
gosh, so impersonal. Yeah. Yeah. You're taking the human element out of it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
It's,
absolutely.
so, wow.
Yeah, then like you said, that
What
rapport, that trust that you build, it's so much harder on a screen than in
Mhm.
person where they can see you and feel your energy and
Yes.
just know that you care and want to connect with them. And so that's tough. I
Yeah.
don't know how people do it, but sometimes there's just no other way. And so hats off to those providers because that's a hard job to be able to
Yeah.
navigate all that through a screen.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine. I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't feel comfortable, but, it is what it is if that's what they have to do.
Right.
Um, what's one piece of advice you would give to someone hesitant to seek mental health support?
Yeah, I mean it's hard. I understand that and I validate that completely. But to just think of it like any other health concern and that you're seeing a
Yeah.
professional who deals with it day in and day out. But the number one
Mhm.
advice would actually be just to be an advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
Anyone if you've had a relative that's gone through a health scare or mental health crisis, you know that it's really important, even as a family member, to just advocate for your parent or your relative. And it's the same thing with yourself. Like whenever you go into a doctor's appointment, really go over those side effects of those medications. If
Yeah.
you have concerns, like express them. If you feel like your provider's not listening, maybe get a second opinion. I think it's important. And
Mhm.
especially in the internet era, I know a lot of people hate when their patients Google things, or chat GPT, but I actually welcome it. And I want to hear what you found on the internet so we can talk about it together. Because I think it's important for patients to not do their own research. Like you don't have to diagnose yourself on the internet, but to try to understand maybe your diagnosis, maybe watch a YouTube video
Yeah.
about it, understand what your medication. I had a patient come to me and say, I looked up the side effects and it said this. And I said, that's great. Like, let's talk about that. So it's that keeping that dialogue, and just, there are experts that are here to help you. And,
Yeah.
there's therapists that can guide you. So there's a lot of help. And unfortunately, human beings, we don't heal well alone, as I mentioned. We
Yeah.
Yeah.
need our community, we need that guidance, but also we need to advocate for ourselves. So I think both of these things can be
Yeah.
true.
That's really cool. We have that you've gotta be on again. There's just so
Oh,
much
thank you. I'd love to
information.
be on again.
It's
Exactly.
so rich. Rich, rich information. I'm gonna turn it over to Natalie.
Why, thank you. So, Natalia, I want to switch gears a little bit and I want to go into holistic care. So, you know that I'm a big proponent of connection to the mind, body, and soul. I believe heavily in it. I have had lived experience and personal experience with it. When I shared with you my ayahuasca experience. And I think that I truly believe that humans really do need to get back to the center of who they are, their intentions, what they want to do in the world, how they want to navigate in the world, and just loving yourself. And in the medical industry, that's tricky, right? Because doctors have a standard that they are brought to get to where they want to go to be able to practice. But I don't think a lot of that has to do with holistic care. So I would just love to take the time to ask these questions and just, let you speak on that part of you, because I do think that that naturally comes from you in the work that I did with you. I just think that, you know, you just bring a different essence to the job, and
Yeah.
that's
Thank you.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
So
you.
so how do you define holistic care within psychiatric nursing? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, that's holistic care is really the whole person, the whole body. So it's mind, body, and spirit. And like we talked about spirituality too. And thankfully, I think the field is moving in that direction. You mentioned ayahuasca. There's a lot of work being done with psychedelics. Ketamine therapy now is very popular and it's evidence based and very effective. It's not for everyone, of course, but there's a move in our field to look more at alternative therapies. And like I mentioned, EMDR, there's other kinds of therapy modalities that are being incorporated more. And I think it's important because this heavy reliance on just medications is it's really getting old and people are tired of it. They don't
Mhm.
want to be. I
Yeah.
mean, for example, you go into a psychiatrist, let's say you book your psychiatrist appointment or something. I don't know, Kaiser, for example. You're going to go to
Right.
the appointment and you're going to come away with a prescription. And that's very odd that everyone is going to have a prescription when that may not always be the prescription that they need. They may need, to go outside and be in nature. One of the things I talk about with clients is how much sunlight are you getting? Because
Yep.
we need sunlight for our sleep. It regulates our circadian rhythm. So things like that. And yeah, my practice is just, unfortunately, I have enough time with patients that I can really sit with them and talk about their whole background and lifestyle and diet and exercise. But a lot of providers just don't have the time. So that's when
Yeah.
I say to clients, like, please advocate for yourself because your provider may not have the time, but if you come in with a list of questions and you say, I need to address these in this appointment, or maybe we can schedule another one, that kind of backs them in a corner. Like they have no choice but to really
Mhm.
look at that big picture and help you with all of your concerns and not just that one little thing that they might want to focus on. So holistic care is crucial to, and it's not just with mental health, it's with physical health too. It's everything. So just really pushing that kind of perspective, it helps you can be the advocate for that sort of change.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I also, what comes to mind is that um, sometimes we have to go back to baseline, right? We have to go back to
Mm.
the basics of what does a human actually need? What are your basic
Mm.
needs, right? And are those being met? Because if they're not, everything else takes a hit, right?
Agree.
Spirituality is a whole nother subset of being human. And whether you practice that or not, there still is an energy and an essence and a soul that we embody everywhere we go. So that's something that, I truly want to, partner with the community and network and you and everyone around me that really wants to just advocate for people, teach people, remind people, how to get back to that place. If you don't eat well, what do you expect? If you don't drink water,
That's
if you don't sleep, if you don't walk, I mean, it's the basic things, right?
right.
Um, and I think too, the reason why I asked this question is because, like you said, your job is medication heavy. But before you even prescribe something, I know that you are going to educate that person. And that is 110% really amazing for an experience for someone to have with you. That's rare.
Mm.
And I've met with psychiatrists over the years because I too have needed medication for certain things and never really built a rapport with that doctor, right? And I know that you're different. I know that you, deep down, you want to get to know this person to make sure that they're making the best and most informed decision, right, for their path. So I just love the way you work. It's just really amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I heard a quote today actually that says before you correct, you must first connect. And I thought that was
Yes.
so great. And it
Yes.
doesn't mean I need
Yes.
to bond with you and we need to become besties and grab coffee afterwards. But just the simple fact of expressing empathy and trying to relate or trying to understand the client, like people feel that. And so it can happen pretty quickly. But it's really extremely important, as you mentioned. And one of the things that I thought of when you were talking about holistic care is one of the things we don't think about that much, especially when we go to the doctor, is sexual health. And
Yes.
I have been
Yeah.
incorporating that more because it can be awkward to ask that question. You know, are you having any trouble with your erections? You know, it's kind of be uncomfortable, but it's
Yeah.
so important. And I've had clients tell me, I'm so glad you asked me because I had to go to the emergency room a few years ago because I had like a painful erection lasting, 4 hours or whatever it was. And that is an actual emergency that they had to address, and certain medications can trigger that. So to be able to have that conversation, it was so important for their health. And the fact that, people don't want to bring it up because, oh, it makes me feel a little uncomfy for 2 seconds. It's like, no, this is really important. And that's when being an advocate is also to bring that up and say, hey, I know this is random, but I did have this one time I had to go to the ER because I had this problem. Like, can you tell me if the medication is going to cause that or if that could become an issue? Or antidepressants cause sexual side effects.
Yep.
And maybe there's a client that can't have an orgasm, and it's like they don't want to bring that up because it's uncomfortable, but it's important to talk about that because how are you supposed to feel better if you can't even, experience this pleasure of life that is, so normal to so many people? So,
Yeah. That's so, yeah. It's true.
Absolutely.
It's,
I mean, sexuality is a lot of who we are, right? It's a natural thing for us to want to do.
Yeah.
So that's a really, really good point and something for viewers to keep in mind, not to be afraid to talk with your doctors about the symptoms that you're having, not just the mental, but the physical, and notice those things, right? So which mind-body interventions have you seen to be the most effective for patients in crisis?
Yeah, I actually love this one modality. It's a type of it was created as sort of like a way of using the concepts of EMDR, but it's a more like crisis oriented modality. It's called critical incident desensitization. And I don't know if
Yes.
you've seen me use it in the office.
I
Yeah,
have.
it's just we use like little bursts of eye movements or tapping and to just de-escalate a situation, someone who's in crisis, and it's super effective. And the beauty is that you can get trained on it. I mean, anyone can get trained on it, and it's just extremely useful. I think people are they don't know what it is, and they're maybe scared to try it or practice it, but it can be game changing if you're in the moment with a client. Like I had a client who walked in on his wife cheating on him, and he was traumatized. He was devastated, and he's like crying uncontrollably, and he's so angry. And I did the critical incident desensitization on him. We did some eye movements, and within minutes, he was able to just laugh about it. And I've never seen that kind of transformation. So it's really cool to have these tools in your tool belt and to be able to help people in that way. But a lot of people aren't even familiar with these techniques, and I feel like I need to be the spokesperson because I'm so passionate about these practices. It's really, I feel like I keep getting on my soapbox about this, but there's a lot of tools that people need.
Yes, that would be a good episode for us to have, for her to talk about, Natalie, exclusively, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many
If she's
subsets
willing to come back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of
definitely.
course. Yeah,
Yes.
actually, funny, you actually just answered the next question was, can you share a time when a holistic intervention made a major difference? And that's great. That's perfect. Definitely something that our viewers should look into just for curiosity, because crisis and
Yeah.
trauma to me they blend into each other, but they're also two separate things. So if you're curious about both, then look
Yeah.
into both.
Yeah.
So which holistic practices do you use to stay grounded and emotionally balanced?
I mean, I do have a spiritual practice. I go to church and that's really important, but also exercise. I
Yes.
mean, exercise is so important. I don't know how people stay sane without some kind of daily exercise. And in a way, yeah, I guess spirituality is really exercise for the soul. So you really need both. It's so important. But getting outside, getting some sunshine, going for a run, it really is like therapy. It's not a replacement for therapy,
Yeah.
but it is so important. And it's sad how many providers and just in general in the medical field just don't take care of themselves. Like they said, don't they say like doctors have a really high rate of smoking? And it's things like that where you're like, physician, heal thyself, and it's just so
Yeah.
important to practice what you preach and really do all the things. The one thing I should do more though, which would be great, is journaling. I don't know if you guys journal, but I've been
Yeah.
I've been trying to do that more because
Journaling.
I think that's important.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
No,
Those are
I
all
need
amazing.
to do that more.
Right. I think even if you just talk into your phone and do a voice note, I still feel like that's beneficial
Yeah.
because you're kind of getting some things off your chest and you can kind of see that
Yeah.
reflected back at you like, oh, okay, maybe this was kind of silly what I was worrying about or what have you. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one. I haven't touched my journal in
That's
a while,
it is.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
have
The
3
you have the
journals.
physical journal? Yeah, we buy
I
the
have a
journal and we don't
physical
use
journal
it.
because when I was a kid, I loved my diary. I had it had a
So
lock on
nice.
it with a little key,
Yes.
and I loved my diary, and I don't remember what I wrote in there because at the time I was really heavy in my own personal trauma, but it was just like this little treasure that I could lock up, and it was very metaphoric for me because it was like I could lock all of my secrets there. And I would hide it, so that nobody could find it. But there's something about the movement of the physical movement of writing and the thought process and the flow. I know when I was writing during COVID times, uh a lot of words that came out ended up being poetry. I didn't realize that I could
Wow.
actually do that, and I wrote a lot of poetry. So yes, it's a beautiful practice if it's something that you love to do. I am a big proponent for try everything. Just try it.
Yeah.
You never ever know, where it's going to take you. So I love that you have a grounded practice and you're also open to doing so many fun things. I know we haven't gotten out to salsa dancing yet, but we absolutely will. And
Yes.
yeah, so that's great.
I can't wait. Yeah.
So, okay,
Yeah.
so we are ending the end of the show. So I want to ask you this last question, and then if there's anything else that you want to share with us, Natalia, please do. I think this conversation
Yes.
definitely lends itself for a part two, for sure. There's
Mm.
just so much information out there that we would love to talk with you about. Also about your days being an esthetician. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
funny, Ma, I
Yes.
actually,
Fun
when I
story.
found that out, I forgot and I started asking her about skincare because of my melasma.
Oh, yeah.
So yes, Nat, you really do. You have a lot of great suggestions. So maybe,
Yes.
that could be the part two is talking about, even though
Oh, yeah.
those aren't your days, if you still love to do
No, I
recommendations,
love
that
skincare.
would
I
be
love
great
talking
too.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And my mom was an esthetician. Well, she
Oh,
was a
really?
beautician first, and then she went on to become an esthetician. But like, this is fascinating because I told my mom that we were going to give her the link so that she could watch this one because my mom wanted to see this one
Oh, wow.
um, specifically. So this is so cool. If you would agree to come back on again and talk a little bit about that,
Yeah.
and then the trajectory of what, expand more on the mental health aspect of it would be so cool.
It's funny because I feel like an early adopter because now everyone is into skincare, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I was here before you guys. Like,
Yeah.
now everyone wants to
Yeah.
because it's important, and your skin is your largest organ. So yeah, I love
Yes.
talking about it.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. Well, last
So yeah.
question of the
So cool.
show,
Okay.
which was one of my favorites. What's one unusual healing practice you think deserves more recognition?
Oh gosh. Honestly, massage. I think massage is
Ooh,
great. And
yeah.
there's that human touch too, like people that are lonely and that crave connection. I'm just like, get a
Yeah.
massage. And it's so funny because these little things, like you wouldn't think they make that much of a difference. But another thing that I remembered is that when I was doing my training, I would go, my free time, I'd go to Trader Joe's and I would shop around and I would get my little thing. And I was thinking to myself, why do I always feel better after I go to Trader Joe's? And then I saw the research behind it that running errands is really good for your mental health because it allows you to go outside and be around people. And then the shopping, it's kind of satisfying. You see the little products or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And it's actually proven. And so I was talking to my classmate and I said, sometimes we need to tell clients, maybe you don't need a pill. Maybe you just need to go to Trader Joe's for a little
Go to
Trader
Trader
walk
Joe's.
the aisles and just
Yes.
because and
Yeah.
then
And there's a
they're so friendly too with the cashier when you're checking out and they make conversation with you
Yeah.
and you just feel better. And you're like, oh, that person was so nice to me because they have great customer service. So I'm just an ad for Trader Joe's at this point. It's like,
yeah.
All right. Hashtag Trader Joe's.
And there's a certain smell, I think, in Trader
oh
Joe's. When I went
yeah,
with my stepdad, when I walked in, I thought, oh, I don't know, it did something to me and I wanted to go back again. So it's funny that you mentioned Trader Joe's because when I walked in, it was this aroma. I don't know, it was
that's
soothing
cool. Did,
and
did you get a
it
free
was
sample?
vibey. And I was just like, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But my
great.
parents shop there,
Oh,
so it's
nice.
like,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah.
But it's just thinking outside the box, right? Not always doing maybe the conventional or traditional thing. You could try something different that works for you. Maybe it's sound healing. There's so many
Yeah.
different ways to treat mental illness and just to be happy as a human being. It's so it's just common sense too. I think we lack a lot of common sense and people want to lecture from their ivory tower, but it's like sometimes what grandma told you really is the best thing to do. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
That is very true.
Yeah.
And I love that you say
Speaking of
massage
grandma.
because
Yes.
immediately I think there are a lot of people that don't like massage, but
Mm,
the massage in the sense of someone else touching your body. Well, we have massage
mm.
chairs and we
Yes.
have massage guns
Oh, that's
and
true
we have
too.
heating
Yeah.
pads that have massage in it. So there's a lot of different ways. And I love that you say that because I do genuinely think that we do need to cleanse the energy, the aura around us every day, whether that's yoga, whether it's boxing, whether it's running, you name it. Like we need to get the heavy energy out because it absorbs and it attaches onto us every day. So
Yeah.
massage is a great one because especially for those that have traumatic experiences, we carry all of that tension in our bodies. So to work it out is a game changer. So
Oh
thank
yeah.
you for that suggestion. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So is there anything
For
else that you want to
sure.
share with the viewers before we say c'est la vie?
Yeah. I mean, just
For now.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. Oh, thank you both for having me on. It's really incredible. And I love that we're talking about the stigma because I think that's really important for people to not be afraid to get the help that they need, whether that's
Yeah.
going to treatment for an addiction or going to therapy or going to a provider and just trusting your gut and really listening to your intuition. And if you don't feel safe, you don't feel comfortable in a certain, medical setting, to really advocate for yourself, to look at all your options, to really do your research and understand what is being presented to you because there's so many options nowadays. There actually are a lot of wonderful medications. So to not be afraid if
Yeah.
that is the route that you need to go. There's just so many
Yeah.
different wonderful creations that science has given us to work with. So it's really about looking at all
Yeah.
your options, mind, body, and spirit.
Mhm. Absolutely. And maybe even having you on to talk about psychedelics too, because It's up and coming research, and I have a feeling
Right.
that we're going to start flowing more into having those available on the market.
Oh,
Marijuana is something that people use on a daily practice. Personal people
Yeah.
that I know, people that I've met through the practice of therapy. And I'm a firm believer that um, if it doesn't move into an unhealthy place, then great. If it's working, then do that, right?
Yeah.
Yourself, you're your best, advocate for yourself. So I would love to have you on to talk more about that too as well.
That's
yes.
great. Yeah. So great
Please.
topic.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
A lot of people using
Yeah.
cannabis recreationally, and it would be
Yes.
nice if we
Oh,
had,
yeah.
yeah,
I can imagine.
a
Yeah.
lot
They'll
of people.
find a reason, right?
Yeah,
Ah, there's
exactly.
something wrong with me.
Sometimes.
Hey, let me reach for cannabis.
Sometimes. So, Nat, where can viewers find you? What's the best place for viewers to find you if they have any
Yeah.
follow-up questions or just want to get to know you better?
Yeah, I think just LinkedIn. You were, I think you have
Okay.
the link, and yeah,
Perfect.
that's probably the best place. I'm here in the Bay Area, and yeah, and also you can email me natalia.pitcher@gmail.com if you have any questions. I love mentoring. I love helping people. So if people are interested in the
You
field,
do.
feel free to reach out.
Yeah. Very
Amazing.
cool. Very cool.
Yeah,
This has been
thanks,
an
you
Thank you
amazing
guys.
so
show.
much.
Yeah, thank
I
you. Thank
have
you.
been inspired and
Wow.
honored to have you here.
I'm inspired by
Very
both of
cool.
you. Really, you two are amazing.
Thank
So
you.
I hope to see you again soon.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
And thank you, viewers, for
For
joining
sure.
Between Generations. Of course, you will see a hammer that says, smash that like button and subscribe.
Yes.
There's a whole
Thank you, Natalie. I
algorithm
was going to
behind
say
it.
that.
So,
Yes.
but,
Smash that like button.
and then, of course, thank you to my mom. This is it's a fun journey, and I love doing this with you. So I don't think I've said that enough. So
Yeah.
it's fun. But
Thank
thank you,
you.
viewers.
Yeah. Me too.
Stay tuned
Me
for the
too.
next one. We've got some amazing people coming on in the new year. And have had some great interviews. So, yeah, and we love your comments. And if you'd like to be part of our show, please reach out. We'll have the information below in the show notes.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh,
Thank you, girls.
thank you.